Hello and welcome to another episode of TesterSpeak, and I'm your host Brijesh Deb. Well, it's not often that you come across somebody who makes very rational arguments, and he tries to say things in a very polished way and has so much of clarity of thought. And my guest today is one such person who has displayed enough clarity of thought umpty number of times. In fact, every time I have spoken to him, and he is a prolific thinker. I have found him, always making very good arguments. He's a very polished, very sharp tester with a great range of skills, uh, and he also writes very well. So it gives me a lot of pleasure in welcoming to the show my dear friend from Canada, Mitul Vaghela. Welcome, Mitul.
Hey Brijesh, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on TesterSpeak's episode. How are you?
Uh, I am doing very well, Mitul. Thank you so much. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's Friday night. I'm celebrating TesterSpeak's episode and couldn't be more excited.
Well, Friday night for you, Saturday morning for me. Well, so something that I want to tell the audience. Yeah, we all talk about agile. I do not know why there is so much of glare. So let me just take off my glasses. Well, we talk of agile, and one of the things that we talk about when we say about agile is working with distributed teams. And the greatest learning of working with distributed teams is to manage time zones. So that's exactly what we are trying to do. It's Friday night for you, Saturday morning for me when we are trying to record it. But you know, this is our way of celebrating the weekend. So
Yeah,
I'll
but
take
how
this thing of a
often?
better way.
But how often do I get such opportunities? It's very rare for me. So again, thank you.
Yeah, you're being extra kind. Well, no, for the audience, this normally happens when I chat with Mitul. I mean, I very fondly call him as Mr. Canada because he lives in Canada only for that reason. But that's a friendly banter that we share. Well, okay. I'm sure the audience must be getting curious to know more about you. So yeah, so tell me about your journey. How did things happen for you? How did you become a tester, and how did you end up in Canada?
Yeah, sure. So I have now close to 10 years of experience in IT industry. Uh, I started my career in 2011. So, and I am an accidental tester. I know we have discussed this a lot in our test chat group. So, how it happened is I was selected as a part of campus interview by Patni Computer Systems, and then I was called to Mumbai for training, and that's where I came to know that I'll be working with the testing practice. So uh, and it so there's a funny story behind this. So I was, when the campus recruitment happened, it was Patni Computer Systems, but then when I joined, it was iGate, because iGate bought over Patni. And then few years later it became Capgemini. So for a long time, like for 8 years, I should say 9 years, I never changed companies, but but the tag on my LinkedIn kept on changing. So people used to be very curious, but yeah, this is the story. So but I recently changed my company. That's a topic for another day. So in 2011, I came to know that I'll be working with the testing practice, and they started off with the training. In those days, automation was not a buzzword. So it was all about core testing concepts. Like, they used to teach us concepts like equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, and all that stuff. And from there, I think it was a month training, and there was a test, and then finally we were deployed at different locations. So I was deployed, luckily, I should not say luckily, uh, in my hometown, not hometown, but home district, which is Gujarat. So I started my work from there. The place is called Gandhinagar. And I started working with an account called MetLife. Uh, Now I'm stressing this beginning because I want to convey an important experience of my professional life, and it started here. So when I joined this account, MetLife, uh, one thing that happened to me was availability of brilliant seniors and mentors. Uh, and you know it was a defining moment of my life, because uh, later on in my career, whenever I joined a new account, uh, I worked for different accounts. I worked for General Electric, I worked for Royal Bank of Canada. But later on in my career, whenever I joined different accounts, I realized that access to those brilliant seniors and mentors just changed the way I started looking at testing as a career. So, uh, when when I work with brilliant people, and then I have worked with people, I would not say not brilliant, but people who did not take testing seriously. So I worked with people who would take testing as a craft. You know what I mean? Like like Brijesh, right? So whenever we talk with Brijesh, I feel I feel, sometimes I feel pressured that I should be very mindful about what I'm speaking about testing with Brijesh, right? So that sort of seriousness and that sort of dedication to your craft, right? So not everybody does that, but when I started my career, I was fortunate enough to work in group of such people. They taught me how to approach testing. They taught me the technicalities, and not just technicalities. They taught me how to do work in general, even work ethics. So those first 2 years of my career were very important. I learned how to speak. Uh, I learned how to articulate myself, and how to do a solid testing. Thereafter, I gained experience. I started working on different technologies. Was testing in like the initial days. I was testing uh, not so modern applications, but slowly this concepts like uh, single page applications and APIs and web services started coming along. Then a new thing was happening in the market, and that is automation, which has I feel like completely shadowed the core testing concepts today happened. So I started working on automation projects, and at the same time, I started exploring these technologies as well. Clients changed, projects changed, different challenges came along. Some awesome people came along, and I made progress. And about Canada, I came here just 2.5 years back. So the thing is, like every IT employee uh, in India, especially, they have a dream of going abroad. Uh, and I tried for H-1B for many years, but it did not work out. So finally, I decided to take things in my hand, and I applied for the express entry immigration system that Canada has. It's a merit-based system, so you can apply, and if you have enough points, they'll invite you. So I did get invite, and then Capgemini was looking for a position to fill over here. They came to know about me, and then I moved here. So that's my journey so far.
Well, that's quite an interesting journey, and you use certain terms which make me more intrigued, make me more curious.
Yeah.
Number one is you mentioned you were put through a test and then you were deployed. So what sort of a test was that? Okay, so was it an automated test or a manual
No.
test? and when you say deployed, was it an on-premise deployment or on-cloud deployment?
No, it was on premise, very much on premise, and no, it was not an automated test. Yeah, if you call taking tests on computers as automated, then in that respect, yes, it was an automated test. But there was no mention of automation in testing at that point in time. It was test about what they taught us, right? So they'll you know they'll pose a question about how will you use state variables in this problem statement to test.
Right. No, I think that's a very interesting journey, and I like the candid way in which you put. In fact, I saw the entire the Patni computer systems to iGate to Capgemini transition literally happening before my eyes, because in Mumbai they have this big campus in Airoli, which used to be Patni Computers, and
PKP.
during this transition from Patni to iGate and then subsequently to Capgemini, my office, I was working for a company called Lionbridge. We moved over from a suburban area called Powai in Mumbai to Airoli, and this Patni Computers was right across. From we could see it. Okay, so where I sat, there was a window, and from the window, I could actually see the entire Patni campus. Okay, from that window, because it was right across the highway, which was going right outside, and it was on the other side, and we were on one side. So I saw the entire transition happening. They were changing the logos, painting the walls, and all of that happening. Okay, something is cooking. And then a few days later, I see that the profiles of my friends who were working in Patni Computers suddenly changed to iGate, and then a few months later, they said, "Wow, you changed 3 jobs without even moving from your seat. How did you do that?" so yeah, I can absolutely relate to what you said. And so okay, so that brings me to a very interesting question. Okay, so when you said that when you sort of started, there was no automation or anything like that, and you were taught about core testing concepts and things like that. Well, do you believe that people are still taught those core concepts in testing, or nobody's paying much attention to those testing concepts and the focus has shifted completely towards automation?
I don't think so. They are teaching that anymore. If they are teaching at all, I think they have cut that down to a single session or so, because the last time I checked, because I have this curiosity. Now I don't have access to the new members who are recruited from campus, but when I used to talk with them, and I think it was almost 3 to 4 years back. I used to talk with them that what sort of training they got, and it was all automation. We got a month, I think almost a month's worth of training just on core testing topics.
Okay, well, I kind of agree with you on the trends that we are seeing. We see a lot of push being made towards automation and people trying to, sort of say that, oh, automation is going to save the day for everybody. It's the, I don't know, big, what do you say, big magic wand that somebody is going to wave, and all your problems are going to disappear and all your wishes are going to come true. For example, the customer has 0 bugs in his system, and the performance of the system is suddenly boosted up, and the sales are all going through the roof, and everything is well. So, do you really believe automation is actually capable of doing all that?
So far, what I've seen, I don't think so. At this point, and I think we have had a long discussions on this, even on test chat and at other places. So far, what we have seen is automation of chats. We don't have autonomous software which you can just start and it will start thinking on its own. Like it will start doing exploratory testing. You know what I mean? I know that there are some solutions that exist from model-based testing paradigm, but even those models have to be designed first. So someone somewhere designed that algorithm, design what they want to test, and that algorithm is working on your software. So again, what you are doing is it's the classic programming solution where you are just navigating through the nodes and edges and making sure that you don't repeat certain edges. So you are saying that you have an optimized testing solution, but at the end of the day, it's just automated design and automated checks. The system is not doing any work for you. It's just accelerating your work. That's all.
You are basically doing all the work for the system and thinking that the system is doing a lot of work for you. Right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you this. There are claims being made by some vendors in the market that they have tools for exploratory testing. What is your thought on that?
I don't know. I don't think so. Can you name one? I know a good tool for exploratory testing. Again, it's not automated. It's called Bagasur from Mulia software company. And I don't think they claim that it automates exploratory testing. I've used it. It's really good. It helps you to do. It's an enabler basically, and that's what we look for in tools, right? But can you name such a tool that claims to be?
It'll be a huge controversy if I were to name some of those tools, but there are some which say that they are capable of doing exploratory testing and in an autonomous or automated fashion. Now you named Bagasura. Bagasura is a brilliant tool from Mulia for mobile apps, testing mobile apps, and I think it's very well thought out. Okay, basically, if you look at the way it has been designed, you get so much of what do you say? If I use Pradeep Saundararajan's words, you get so much of inner peace. When you have used that app on your use that tool on your app. So so that's what you get, and when you are trying to test something, that inner peace is something that you are constantly looking at. And I'm trying to use the word automation and not test automation because or automation testing for that matter, because not only do I believe in nothing called manual testing, I believe that nothing called automation testing also. Okay. I had used that hashtag. Hashtag nothing called manual testing is there, of course, and there has been a lot of banter. There have been memes about me. So so that one part is always there. But I think people are sort of getting the message that okay, you should not be disambiguating testing based on the way you execute tests. Some people agree, some people still don't agree, which is fine. That thought process should always be there. The discussion should always be on, as long as there is a reasonable, rational argument associated with it.
Yeah.
And we will see how do we change the mindset within the industry. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there are these tools which claim that you can do a lot of stuff just by writing some code and asking the tool to do those tests for you. Okay, now if you have to make the computer do stuff for you, who is supposed to test whether the computer is doing what it is supposed to do or not? Right? So
Yeah.
in that context, I was reading somewhere about an article on a self-healing AI-based algorithm. Okay, self-healing meaning it corrects itself constantly, which means that it is able to identify that this is wrong. And so, first of all, it will do whatever it does based on the data on which it has learned. Right? It will not do anything outside the scope of the data in which it has learned. For example, if you have trained the software to deal with certain data for the patients of, say, a hospital in Canada, you cannot use the same thing in Mumbai as it is, because you will have the conditions are different, the some of the ailments are different. Okay, and there are a lot of different factors, so the question to you again is, I know I've been speaking for a long time, whereas it is your show. So the question to you is, do you think we are headed in the right direction in terms of thinking as to how we should be approaching testing with the help of these sort of systems? Do you think it is a sensible argument to make that, oh, AI is going to be the light at the end of the tunnel, or automation is going to be the light at the end of the tunnel? Do you think these statements hold weight?
I don't think so. And let me substantiate my answer using a similar example. So sometimes back, I read an article about X-ray taken from a machine. Now, I'll try to find the link to that article, but if I can't, just believe me, I definitely read that article, and this is what it meant. So now, so they developed a AI software. So what it will do is it will look at that X-ray, and based on that, it will determine if the person has a particular ailment. And they used to say that that algorithm had close to 95 to 96% accuracy. Even doctors couldn't match that. But it happened so that they developed this. They trained the AI algorithm based on data derived from a particular make of the machine that took the X-rays. And then what happened is they tried to use this software in some other hospital where they didn't have this particular machine, and the AI made the mistake, and the doctors caught it. Right. So one thing I learned from this experience is, yes, maybe you can leverage AI to for faster decision making and for better accuracy. But at the end of the day, it's still a tool. If it's making mistake, uh, I don't think it's gonna it's gonna find the mistake by itself. The reason being, like you said, it's being trained on a specific set of data, and that is basically the source of truth for the AI algorithm. It doesn't have anything else to relate against, right? So it will make mistake. And it has made mistakes in the past. So as long as we are looking at all the solutions as just tools that will aid humans in their endeavors, I'm happy. The moment you start saying that we don't need humans, uh, I don't understand, because if you are building software to be used by another software, maybe if you say that the software is testing to find that there are no bugs, it's okay. But at the end of the day, if you and I, if we are going to use the system, if we are the ultimate consumers, we need some other human who think like us, who feels like us, who is basically a human to test the software, right?
Right. So a couple of things. You said at the start, believe me about that article. I do believe you because I think I've read that article myself, and I think the same article was referred to in one of his tweets by none other than Michael Bolton, where he expressed a similar sort of a feeling about the miseries that AI can actually bring you. And and the other thing that I want to mention is, is probably underline this fact and once again by saying that any AI system or any machine learning system is only as good as the data. If your data is bad,
Yeah.
the system is going to be bad. So if you want to do something about it, then test the data. Okay, and verify. Okay, you can't have, and you made a very good point. If the software is going to be used by a software, but then I will just extend it a little more. If a software is building a software to be used by a software, okay, then it's fine. But if at any end of this entire process there is a human involved, okay, then it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyways, so I wanted to pick your brains especially on this topic because I, in the past couple of days leading up to this interview, I've been reading a lot of articles, and they've been talking a lot about AI calling the shots and changing the world and stuff like that. Now, I saw a very good use of AI. I was testing the Spotify app for whatever reason. Actually, I was listening to some music on my TV on Spotify app. I was doing something and it was on, and then I started switching it over to different devices. And every time the app would ask me, "Would you want to continue the current playlist?" Every time it was like that. And the moment it switched from one device to the other device, it would ask me, "Okay, it is playing right now there. Would you want it to continue playing there, or would you want to start playing games?" That is what I call as artificial intelligence. But again, that is limited. That the scope is limited because it is testing within that specific things. So specific set of devices are being, the data of specific set of devices is being fed into the system. But it worked pretty neatly for me, and I was like, wow, this is nice. And it made me happy, of course. But then again, the limitations are there, and I'm sure that people from Spotify would agree that they do not have an exhaustive list of devices where you could install a version of their software. Now, the version of software which is available for certain TV set may not be available on another TV set, so it may become something different, and it may behave differently for whatever reason. But in this case, it worked out fine because all the devices and all the versions of the apps were probably in sync, up to date, so it worked. So, anyways, moving away from this discussion on AI, it was, I think, interesting. I want to bring or seek your thoughts on one of the articles that you wrote a few months ago, a few weeks ago, maybe, on Medium about the need for unit testing by testers. Now, yeah, I
Okay.
will take that compliment. I'm a well-read man. I read articles
Okay.
from testers all over the world. So whatever people write, I mean, whatever their experience is, I tend to read and try to learn something from them. So you made very good points
Yeah.
there. Uh, would you like to justify why you wrote that article?
Okay. Thank you for asking this question. I think I was looking forward to have questions on on this article since so long. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's a tough one, but yeah, I'll do my best to answer this question. Uh, so I will begin with the challenges that I have faced in past with respect to uh, unit test cases. Uh, Now, everybody knows that not all the developers like to write unit test cases. If it is a process in your team, then maybe if they have to do it, they'll do it. But there are all sort of teams, right? So in certain teams, you'll find that there are no unit test cases. And then it becomes a legacy issue because the application has been there since many years, and now nobody even cares about writing it. Maybe new developers will try, but still the legacy features remains, right? So now testers are getting very technical with each passing day, and I believe that writing automation code in some cases is even difficult than writing a piece of API. Let's say, I've written APIs in the past. I found writing automation code to be difficult compared to certain types of APIs. So if we are, so technical and if we can write code, why not write unit tests? And I'm saying this because I believe that certain tests, I believe that tests belong at their right places. So, for example, if something that can be tested at unit testing layer or the component layer, I think that it should be tested there rather than writing a automation script on UI. Because UI automation script, first of all, it's difficult to write. Second, it's flaky. And third, there is a delay. So if developer makes some changes to that feature, and then he waits on some other developer to make corresponding change somewhere else, and then let's say there are 3 pieces, and it takes like a month for them to deliver it to you, and then you run scripts over here or you test it, you'll find a defect after 1 month, which could have found earlier. So I feel that if you have the know-how, number one, at least pursue developers to write unit tests and have a clear idea about what is being tested at that layer. If not, go ahead and write unit tests.
Well, I think that's a very fair point that you've made. Now, a couple of things that simply jumped out at me are you mentioned that testers these days are getting extremely technical. So when you began your career, do you think as a tester you were not technical enough?
So in fact, at that point in time, I was very technical. The reason being, I was fresh out of university, and there, at least it was bookish knowledge, but still had a lot of, knowledge about coding and other stuff. But and I'll touch on another aspect as well. So the way industry has worked so far, at least I'm only talking about my career and people I have come across during my career. So I feel like testers most of the times they have this cushion from developers and other team members when it comes to technical things. I feel like they kind of serve you uh, on a silver plate, that okay, you need to test a database or you need to test this service. Okay, I will pair up with you, don't worry. Or they kind of make a an atmosphere where testers are not expected to know so much. I mean, I'm talking about the technical details of the underlying implementation, and I feel like over the period of time you get spoiled. One good thing that the automation revolution has brought up is the technical expectations on testers has gone up, and I feel like this is a good correction. While I don't support automating everything, but I think that this is a good correction in terms of expectations from testers. So now if there is something that I cannot test on the server, then do I have the technical know-how to make a local clone of that software and run things locally just for the sake of testing? Now, everything, all the technical details that I'm talking about over here, it has a single aim to test better and to test enough and to test at the right time, right? And you need technical know-how for this. So yeah, I would say this is my answer to your question.
Well, okay, so yeah, that's quite interesting. I have a slightly different take on what you just said. I think, in my opinion, testing has always been technical enough. Now, by saying that it is getting a little more technical, if you are trying to imply that okay, testers now need to do a lot more coding or a lot more programming, or they need to have a lot more programming knowledge these days because of the market trends, because of the way things are evolving in the industry, I would agree with you. However, I feel the technical aspect has always been there in testing. People have always been technical. People have always had the curiosity to know about the technologies, technical stack of product, the architecture of the product and things like that. It has always been there.
But Brijesh, wouldn't you agree? Like I have seen many folks, they would, they would just want to enter the testing field because it's easy. You know what I mean? They are like, I don't have to write code. What testers do? Oh, they just have to open the application, do a few clicks, take some screenshots, find defects. I want to, do testing. Because it's easy. You know what I mean? So I'm coming from that perspective.
No, I completely agree, and this is one of the big misconceptions. Anybody can test. They say anybody can test. Of course, anybody can test. My 2-year-old son can also test. If you really want him to test, he will do that for you. He will pick up a a cup and throw it and see if it breaks or not. That's a test, right? So even he can do even he can do it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so and he can do it in two different ways. He can either drop it from a height or actually throw it. Okay, so 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 you know the context that I'm trying to bring in. Well, so this whole thing about the notion about anybody can test and testing is easy. It's been long prevalent for in the society. You know, you ask any engineering student, what do you want to do? I want to get into development. And
Yeah.
why not into testing? No, testing is not so challenging. Development is challenging.
Yeah.
It has a more rewarding career. Testing is easy. I don't want easy things in my life. And then all of a sudden, you see him sitting and doing testing in a company, and you ask him, why did you come into testing? Oh, I thought testing was easy, so I came here. I
Testing.
don't have to do any much of coding and things like that, they will say. Yeah, so I completely get your
Yeah.
perspective on that one. Now, I wanted to ask you something more. So when you say that when you say that okay, things are getting a little more difficult in terms of or rather a little more interesting maybe in terms of people trying to understand the code better, get to the depth of it and all that. So amidst all that, we have seen a rise of tools in the market, right? Number of tools have come out in, let's say, the past 2 3 years. Suddenly there is an explosion of tools, be it for UI testing or be it for API testing. There's suddenly so many tools. Now, how does the tester keep up with so many tools? What suggestion do you have?
I was thinking about this some time back myself, and I thought
I
about
can
this for.
I can read minds.
Thank you, thank you for asking this question. Uh, so, uh, and I thought about this for many days. Like, sometimes you get a question in life and you immediately can't find answer to it. You ask people, you get answers, but you're not satisfied. Maybe my answer will not be a final answer to your question. But I had a realization sometimes back, and I think that was a final answer for me. So I was myself trying to learn different tools. So um, they had Selenium, they had UFT, then they came up with WebDriver IO. Then they have Playwright from Microsoft. They have Puppeteer, uh, and there's so many tools, right? And I realized that I cannot keep up with all the tools, and it, it doesn't make sense. Like, am I getting satisfaction by learning these different tools? And the clear answer was no. Maybe I can put them on my resume and it will look good, but no. And then I realized that it's a good thing that they're coming up with so many tools, because now I have realized that learning so many tools has not helped me uh, as a tester. Know what I mean? My core responsibility, uh, the core testing function, if I do it with Puppeteer or if I do it with Selenium, maybe someone will argue that there's a better way of doing it, there's more convenience, there is a developer experience associated with Puppeteer. But I can do it with Selenium, I can do it with UFT, as long as I'm able to automate what I'm trying to automate with the tool. I'm good, right? It's not like like they show in movies, right, that this guy has developed an algorithm which will reduce the number of reduce the computation from 1 year to 20 minutes. It's not gonna make that much of a difference. If you look at all these tools, they don't make drastic changes. So what I feel is that if it's a good tool, it will, it will jump out. It will stand out. So for example, like Google developed Kubernetes, right? People are using Kubernetes. Like you go anywhere, people are using Kubernetes in production, right? GitHub. So people are putting their code on GitHub. We have Selenium. Selenium has established itself as a market leader, right? So uh, there is like, it's the nature of economy, right? People are going to do work, and as a part of that they will come up with different tools. It's just economy. But I don't think you need to worry about learning all the tools, as long as you follow a tool and it is able to do the job for you. I personally, I don't worry about all of them. Just follow one tool. Similarly, follow one language. Master it, and make sure that it is able to do the job. If there is a market leader like Kubernetes and it's making difference, yeah, switch to that tool. But then again, stick to it. Like, don't be like a bee. Uh, Jumping from one flower to another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so you mentioned Kubernetes, and that has opened up ideas in my head. Uh, what, according to you, is the role of a tester in a DevOps environment?
Again,
Everything is
tough question.
everything
Tough,
is
tough.
automation. Do you need a tester? Do you need a tester?
Uh, no, but I mean, so you're saying that if with DevOps everything is automated, you don't need a tester. Is that what you're asking me?
I don't know. What do you think?
How? I'll just ask how, and I'll make accompanying arguments like
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So let me just substantiate my question. My question by taking 5 names. Okay, I'll take 5 names, and that will substantiate my question for you. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, famously known as FANG. They are popular for saying we do not have any tester role in our organization because we have market leading DevOps environments in place with continuous integration, continuous deployment happening all over. We have microservices architecture, so if one piece goes down, we'll still balance it out, and before people know it, things will be fixed, and a new release will be there. So why do you need a tester? That is the argument that is made by the famous five, and I present to you the same argument.
So I feel like they might not have testers to test every build. They might go fast because they have automated checks and stuff. But I think they do have testers in some capacity. I'm saying this because a few weeks back I saw Amazon Toronto, I mean Canada over here. They had advertisement for SDET, so that's what they are calling testers these days. And I think Microsoft has, but you are right, there are very few. Protractor, this famous tool for automating single page applications, was developed by a software developer in test at Google. So I think that they are maybe they are not utilizing testers as much as other enterprises does, but I think they have some focus on quality. And like, who will decide what to automate, right? You said that everything is automated, right? But who will decide what to automate, and who will aid them in coming up with tools to automate? Because I feel like if you are working for the Playwright tool at Microsoft, then you have some understanding of testing. and that's that's how you are coming up with that tool. That tool can do much more than just testing, like automated checks. Automated checks is, I think, is one of the purposes that it serves. But they are thinking, and they are investing in tools that can help them build their continuous integration and deployment pipeline. So I don't think that they don't have any focus on testing at all, right? Uh,
Well, thank you for validating my belief on this subject. A lot of people have tried to convince me that, oh, automated testing is the way to go, and you don't need testers, and SDETs can do the job for you. So, and you also mentioned about SDETs. So, who is the SDET? A developer or a tester?
So it depends on your notion of developer, right? Because it's like
to answer this question, I just want to put a small caveat. Remember, what you say now will be validated against a line that you have written in one of your blogs.
Okay.
I want to put you on the spot now. This one.
No, that's see, that's fine. That's fine. See, the thing is, one of the good thing about us humans is we always learn and we always evolve, right? So as long as I'm not saying something in the morning and saying something else in the evening, I'm good. If I wrote that maybe like 6 months ago, I would say that Brijesh, you know what, I have evolved. Okay, but just kidding.
Good disclaimer. So, okay, anyways, good disclaimer. I shouldn't have put that line here. I should have probably said that later. Then you would not have had a disclaimer. Anyway, go ahead. So, an SDET, is an SDET a developer or a tester?
So I feel like SDET at the core is a tester. But whoever coined this term, I know that the FANG companies. I think they have coined this term SDET.
No, they have not. It came from Microsoft.
Okay, Microsoft. Okay, yeah. They also I know Google also came up with this SRE, site reliable engineers. So production support, overnight they become glamorous. Now they are SREs. You know what I mean? So testers are SDETs now. So I don't know the thought behind coining that term, but I feel like SDETs are testers. And if you want to justify the title, I feel like when you say testers, you don't have to limit yourself to just testing. Like you cannot. I mean, as a tester, you cannot say that okay, this is the system under test. This is what I have to test. All right, I will test it, but there's a small problem. This component is not working as expected. I want this particular component in this particular configuration, then only I will test, or then only I can test. Can please somebody do that for me? I believe that instead of engaging someone else, most probably a developer on your team, I believe that if you know how to develop small things like small utilities, or how to do some setup on your own, you can go ahead and test it yourself. And by doing that, you can free up the developer's time as well, and you have done your job better. So for example, how do I put it? So there are certain systems that, sometimes back, I'm not sure if I can share details because it is for the enterprise, but sometimes back I was testing a Spring Boot application along with instance of Kafka, and it just happened so that I had to test a scenario where the Spring Boot application is not able to publish the message to Kafka. Now I cannot test this on the cloud because I had to shut down Kafka after I sent messages. So we had this peculiar problem, right? And I discussed this with developer, and they were like, maybe you might have to start the systems locally and test it, right? Now, if I don't have any clue how to do that, how to configure systems, how to start local instances of Kafka and Spring Boot applications, maybe I'll pair up with developer and do the work. Now there's nothing wrong, but I feel like if I knew how to do it, I would go ahead and do the work. And similarly, sometimes back we developed testers, like a group of testers. We developed a script that will take 3 to 4 applications like Kafka, Spring Boot, and there was another where you can see messages, put them into make images out of them, and make a Kubernetes script that will bring up the local infrastructure, right? So we did this. Now this is development work. The way development work is defined, I would say this is development work, but you are using it to aid your testing. You know what I mean? So that to test your system better, faster, and without dependency on the developers. So that's how I see the SDET role, that you develop things but to serve your core function, that is testing.
I think in the last sentence you gave away the ethos or the ideology behind Microsoft coming up with a term called SDETs. So basically what Microsoft wanted was development engineers to develop certain code which would aid testing. Okay, so that code was written by developers. So by nature they were developers. So it was software development engineers in test. The focus was on the DE of the SDET. Okay, so they were still developers, but they were writing code to help testers test more effectively, more efficiently. Get to the root of the problem, making their life easy by easy debugging or things like that. Okay, or creating the right checks, the right asserts, if I may use that term, at the right places where they would say, okay, this is where I must check if it's doing what it's supposed to do, and then you put in, so things like that. Or maybe in building a framework for testing. So that's how Microsoft did it. Then other companies adopted it, and suddenly it's the most fancy term in the industry. Everybody wants to become an SDET. You are already one, so congratulations on that. You are a lot more.
Thank you.
Okay. Having discussed about all these things, I want to do something fun right now, and it's something that I'm going to try for the first time on my show. So you are the first guinea pig, if I may call you, for this one. So I'm going to do a small rapid fire round with you. I'm going to give you 2 choices, and within 2 seconds, I thought of 5 seconds, but 5 seconds is too much of a time for Mitul. So I will just give you 2 seconds. Within 2 seconds, you have to pick the choice and then give an explanation as to why you picked that choice. Okay?
Okay.
Let's begin. So, the first question for you is, I would rather test more of UI or API?
API.
Justify, please. Why?
Well, API is more closer to uh, it's more closer to how do I to code, the actual code written, and it's always a best practice to write your most critical logic in backend compared to front end. So I would focus my efforts over there rather than UI.
Okay. If not a tester, I would be a developer or a business analyst.
Business analyst.
Why?
I like to discuss about requirements. So whenever there is a user story, you'll always find me asking questions. Why we are doing it like this? Do you think that if we develop this feature like this, user will enjoy? Will this make an impact on user experience? Then and I like technology as well. So sometimes I help business analysts make that relation between the business requirement and how they can fulfill from the technical perspective. So I found myself working with business analysts a lot. So that's the reason.
Okay. Agile or waterfall? Which one will I prefer?
Agile.
Why
You
agile? I see that smile on your face, and that's why I'm curious.
This is like that Once Upon a Time in Mumbai movie where Ajay Devgan says that not Ajay Devgan, that police officer says that he had to choose from two things that were equally bad, but he had to decide what is worst. You know what I mean? So so so
Equally bad. Okay, that's
so I'm going to focus on the good things that Agile has brought with it, right? I feel like in waterfall there was a lot of silos, uh, maybe because of its nature, that things happened in stages. But with Agile, I've seen that especially if you're co-located, uh, it changes things. Like developers, leads, managers, business analysts, testers, they're all sitting in the same room or at the same floor, and the requirements, while there is always a scope of requirement creep, but requirement, you don't feel like they are like something cast in stone. So during waterfall days, I used to look at all those documents, like business specification, technical specification, and then huge test plans and whatnot. And like it's like when you're at a certain stage, when you are at the test plan stage, there's so many things that have already happened. And while making the test plan, if you realize that, but wait a minute, I feel like this design, maybe it's not good from a testability perspective. How about if I inform them that can you please make a change in your design so that it is more testable? Or from users perspective, because we are testers, we also take pride in saying this, that we we like to think like the users, right? We try to fashion us like we try to think like users. So while I'm working on my testing strategy, I feel like, no, can you make this change? I feel like this should be discussed more. Can't happen, right? With agile, all that is happening. Agile is chaotic, and I I hate it for that. It's chaotic. We have to test everything in the last 2 days of the sprint and all. But still, I feel like there is a uh, there is a scope of making changes, and it's everything is very malleable in agile. That's what I like about it.
That's a good perspective. Okay, so my next question is on a slightly different subject, uh, which is probably pretty close to a lot of people from India. So I would like to know from your side also. I would love to watch Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli.
MS Dhoni.
Oh,
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. You can't take that away from me. Yeah.
That was a good one. You stumped me. Okay, like MS Dhoni would, but that was a good one. Yeah. Okay. This rapid fire is a good thing. Okay. So my final one. Okay, my choice for a Sunday breakfast would be fafda jalebi or pancake.
Fafda jalebi, Brijesh. You're asking this question to Gujarati guy. Come on.
That's why I asked you.
This question was designed specifically for me.
That's why I asked you. Gujarati, even if he's on moon, he would prefer Gujarati food. Okay, so it's wherever we go, we've seen this innate passion for food in people from Gujarat. I mean, in whatever, I mean, you have Gujaratis all over the world. That's one thing. Okay, so
yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people make a lot of jokes about that. That wherever you go, you will see a shop from some Mr. Patel right there. That joke is always, or it's a running joke. But no, that shows how diverse the people of Gujarat are, and how they like to dream and they like to fulfill their dreams by reaching out to different parts of the world. So of course, that's a different thing. But from a cultural food perspective, I know the love for food that people from Gujarat have, and they have sort of tickled the taste buds so many times, my own taste buds so many times. So I can't miss out. And if somebody asked me that question, although I'm not a Gujarati, I would still prefer Papa Jalebi over pancakes any day. Not just for Sunday breakfast, any day, any time of the day. Okay, you give me that. All right. Coming to the last question of this interview. And this is again a different question which I normally don't ask my guests, but I will ask you. If you were not an IT person, or now you are a tester, you are an SDET. If you are not into IT, what else would you have been?
Lawyer.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah. I think my father wanted to be one, and we used to argue about. I mean, we used to argue on different subjects, and while it's not a good thing, but sometimes I like arguing on different subjects, and that way I feel like I can come up with analytical thoughts, and yeah, I basically enjoy that. So maybe if not IT, then I could have been lawyer.
Well, okay. Well, in my opening remark, I did mention that I have seen you make very rational arguments on all subjects, and your last answer just ratifies my initial comment, and I now know why your comments are so rational. Well, that would have been a great career choice, but you are not too far from being a lawyer if you are a tester, because you're still arguing with people, trying to give evidences of things that have gone bad, and hoping that the judgment will be in favor of the information that you have provided, or will be something which will rely on the information that you have provided as a tester for the betterment of the software and largely to the people using that software. So that was a wonderful. So, that's how I relate to it. So good point. And that was a wonderful chat with you. I mean, very candid, very good discussion. There were a lot of points for me to think about personally. I will go back and reflect on some of the things that you have changed, and maybe think from the perspective that you've tried to bring in, especially with regards to your thoughts on unit testing and essentially largely with the API testing and things like that you mentioned. Because something that you mentioned about APIs, I used to think slightly differently, but now that you've said what you've said, being it closer to code, that's one perspective that I have not looked at. Although I would have also preferred API testing over UI testing, but for me the reasons are different. Okay, for me, because the name itself says it's a programming interface, because you are trying to build an interface between two layers. That's why you want to focus more there. But I will also start looking at it from a perspective of it being closer to code. That is, I think, a very rational thought. So yeah, so obviously there are learnings for me. I have made some mental notes, but as I go and edit this video again, I will obviously look at this video very closely, make my notes more thorough, and learn. And I do that with every interview. There's always a lot to learn from people. Thank you so much for giving your time this evening. Rather, it's early morning now, your time. It's past midnight. Sure, way past midnight for you. So thank you so much for your time, and help me with that small thing that I requested you for the thumbnail of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And
sure.
by the time you wake up, the video would have released, so you will see a notification when you wake up.
Fantastic.
So you can watch. You can watch it live on. All right. Enjoy the weekend. Okay. Sleep till late tomorrow morning. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brijesh, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm not a accomplished speaker or something. I think this is the first time I'm speaking for a group as big as the test chat. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you and the other enablers of test chat for coming up with this a brilliant group where you feel you belong. Like every time you go there, you see people talking about things that matter to you, and that you are very much interested in. So yeah, thank you so much for everything.
Well, thank you so much, Mitul, for those kind words. We are trying to do our best in keeping the group alive. It is because of people like you who kept the group alive. So thank you so much for participating actively in the group, and for spending your evening with me. Thank you, and enjoy your weekend.
You too. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.